Good God! The cry carried over the restless shift of startled horses. Where'd you drop in from?
James, clinging still to the rafters, peered into the gloom. A figure was sitting outside one of the stalls, looking up from a large book he'd been reading by torchlight. "Sorry to interrupt," said James. "I don't suppose you could move some of those hay bales to soften my landing?" The figure dropped the book indignantly.
Do I look as though I'm built for hard labour?
James realised the boy had not been sitting after all, but was standing. He was a dwarf, his body wide and compact, his hair a dark, unruly thatch. James raised his eyebrows in surprise.
You're Hugo Grand, by name if not by nature.
With sudden, obliging urgency, Hugo set about constructing a haystack below James.
Wherever did you blow in from? Wouldn't be eaten by any chance, would it?
James let go of the beam, landed safely in the hay, and rolled over onto the dirty ground. Seems like everyone here has me at a disadvantage.
So you're the fabled James Bond?
Eyes bright with interest below his thick brows, Hugo held out a hand to help James up.
Parents sent you here as a last resort, eh?
Aunt, actually.
Ah, orphan, then?
Hugo spoke bluntly, with no trace of awkwardness.
That's rough, James. Well, I'm sure your aunt's decent.
She is, as a rule. James rubbed the tender leg he'd put through the roof. I'm glad you were here to help, but shouldn't you be in lessons?
Bunking off,
Hugo said cheerfully.
Cosy here in the stables, and no one cares if you skip classes.
There's no punishment.
For demonstrating one's independence? Naturally not. No rules and regs at Dartington Hall. To the progressive mind, they're tyrannous and restrictive.
Hugo lowered his voice confidentially.
Although, James, I'm afraid there's one girl who may be keen to give you a whipping.
Beatrice Judge. She's already tried. James flexed his leg and glanced towards the door.
Steer clear of that one. Brutish little psycho. Well, I say little.
What's it all about, Hugo? Hugo looked surprised.
Why, you're taking her place on the great expedition, of course. Your aunt's thick with Gillian. They've sorted it out between them. He held out his arms expansively. You, my dear James, are going on the adventure of a— Shh!
James had heard a voice at the stable doors. Someone's coming.
Could be Beatrice. Hide!
Hugo immediately hurled himself at the haystack and tried to burrow inside. But James held his ground and curled his fingers into fists as the door creaked loudly open, and— James Bond. The words had an American drawl. A petite woman with strong features stepped into the stable. She wore cream trousers with wide legs pleated at the top, a multicoloured blouse, and several bead necklaces. Her long red hair was only partly tamed by the floral headscarf she wore. I'm Gillian de Vries, the Director of Education here at Dartington Hall. James relaxed and inclined his head. How do you do, Miss— Just Gillian, please. She looked past him to where two legs were protruding from the hay. Have you lost something? Hugo?
Only my dignity.
Hugo burst out and dusted himself down.
Sorry, Gillian. We thought you were Beatrice Judge.
Ah, no. I just intercepted her and her friends. A witness with a weak stomach came and told me what was happening. I've sent them to the head for further discussion. James, you must give your side of the story, of course. Gillian suddenly seemed to notice his dishevelled state. You're hurt? Not by Beatrice. James glanced ruefully at the hole in the roof. I see, Gillian nodded. There were once sheets of corrugated iron protecting that old wood, but some of the children used them for rafting on the River Dart and never put them back. She smiled brightly. Nothing broken? James shook his head. Shame. That would be a lesson learned, wouldn't it? Her laugh was an earthy chuckle. Not to worry.
The poor fellow does worry, Hugo piped up, as to why a local girl would attack him the moment—
All right, I'll take things from here, Hugo. Off you go. Hugo looked aghast.
To lessons?
It's a big ask, I know, but perhaps you could give it a try. As Hugo left, shaking his head, Gillian turned to James. So, your entrance interview. She sat down, neatly and cross-legged, in the straw, and gestured to a rickety old chair in the corner. Save ourselves a walk, shall we? James couldn't hide his surprise. If you like—